Welcome, listeners. You're listening to Deeds in the Desert, the place where real estate investors tune in for the latest news and available investments at Ignite Funding. If you're on the hunt for a low-effort, passive income stream, then turn up that volume and pull out the hammock as we get ready to feed you your weekly dose of real estate investing insights.
All right, so here we are today with another borrower spotlight. And who do we have with us today? Introduce yourself.
Okay, so I'm Dan Luster. I'm a developer in Midway. The company is Midway Heritage Development. Midway is a town just south of Park City. It's a quasi-resort town. We have a new ski area coming in that's going to drive us, I guess, further towards the resort end of the pendulum. But it's, I guess I need to talk about Midway because that's a big part of our story. Midway is one of the most scenic places, I think, in the Mountain West, maybe in the country. With giant mountains that are north facing, and so we see snow on the mountains clear into August. Mm-hmm. But the town has retained its historic and agricultural roots, mm-hmm. which is really unique, being that close to the skiing and all the activities, and still kind of have that agricultural vibe. And so my brand, or at least the way we try to pitch our brand, is rural luxury. And so a lot of people say, well, you want to be Park City? And we say, well, yeah, but we'd rather be Steamboat Springs, something that feels a little bit more rural.
So most people don't know where Midway is. So give us an idea. Give us the main points of what's around there that most will associate with.
Yeah. Well, the key is the airport. So Salt Lake City Airport is... Mm-hmm. I think it's a 50-minute drive, mm-hmm. Which is just another 15 minutes south of Park City. It's kind of positioned physically behind the mountains. If you've ever been to Salt Lake or Provo, it's behind the mountains. So it's a 30-minute drive to Provo, 30-minute drive to Salt Lake. So you're really close, and yet you're surrounded by the Wasatch Range, and I think it's the municipality that's the closest to all the ski areas in Utah. So really, it's pretty crazy. Mountains all around, lakes on both sides. It's a great place.
Name off a few of those ski areas.
So you've got, the new one is called Mayflower. I just read that it's supposed to be twice as big as Deer Valley in terms of skiable area, which is amazing. Then you've got Deer Valley, of course, right next to it, and then Park City adjacent. And that's where we do most of our skiing. Is Park City, just because it has an enormous amount of terrain. Snowbird, Alta, and Brighton are actually on the ridgeline looking down into Midway, and so when you ski into near Brighton, you can see Midway from there. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a lift that connects us, but it's but yeah, that gives you a sense. It's just really, really in the middle of everything.
Beautiful area, beautiful
and then
terrain.
If you're not into skiing, you've got the Provo River flowing right through. That's what defines kind of Midway in the valley, is we're between the mountains and the Provo River. Provo River is famous for fly fishing. It's a wilderness area. We'll see moose in the river. Mm-hmm. Our particular project is just a few steps really from the river, and that's a big part of what we're doing is putting a luxurious spot in the middle of the ski areas and adjacent to the river. I imagine there'll be a lot of biking going on. We have some fantastic mountain biking trails, but I think e-biking is going to be a big deal in this valley because it's, I guess, compared to Park City, I think it's more scenic.
Yeah, and the older I get, the more I need the assistance. So
right.
I'll say I have officially switched over.
It shrinks space and time.
It does. It makes it a much more enjoyable 10-mile ride, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So it's
that's right. And so
I've converted. I don't know about you.
Yeah, we have, and all the mountains around Midway are state park, and so there's going to be some great rides that people today don't do because they can't imagine they could. Yeah. But once you get on an e-bike, you're going to be able to see a lot.
Yeah. So many of our investors have invested on the first project that we did with you. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that first project because I think it kind of leads into where we are today with what we have already funded and what we will be funding in the future. So talk to us a little bit about the first project we did with you.
Yeah. The first project was Whitaker Farm. Same theme, rural luxury. Mm-hmm. And so we acquired about 80 acres on the Provo River with actually access directly to the river. And then we designed it so that all the open space was in the front against the road. And so as you enter the project, you're driving through an active farm. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's baby goat season right now. So you're driving through an active farm, and then into the center of the project, we have what is a historic, it's like an English stone barn, mm-hmm. With 2 ponds. I'm very proud of my sunken tennis courts. So we sink the tennis courts so that as you look out across the open space, you just see what looks like a farm, but actually there's multiple courts there. Yeah. That neighborhood has really become, I would say, one of the premier neighborhoods in the valley, certainly in Midway. The home prices there shocked me. They started around $4 million. In fact, even in this, whatever the climate is now, with the interest rates, we had a bidding war last week. I've sold out long ago, but on a resale of a lot, we had a bidding war that I think boosted the price something like $50,000. So lots in there, acre lots are going for about $1 million each. Yeah.
So you're a developer on that project?
And I was the developer. I wish I would have sold last week instead of in 2020.
Yeah, timing is everything. But now you've kind of gone around Memorial Hill, and we're over on the other side.
The original plan for the village, which is what we've been calling it, is on the other side of the hill from mm-hmm. Whitaker Farm. In fact, the original plan was to connect them and mm-hmm. have it called the village at Whitaker Farm. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, some land got bought out from under me, and we couldn't connect them. So it's its own thing. Yeah. But it shares, the proximity to the river, and we hope we'll share some of the cachet that we've built for Whitaker Farm. Yeah.
So let's talk about this project. Let's talk about Midway Heritage. Mm-hmm. Now we're out of the other project. Yep. All our investors have been paid off. Yep. No issues there. And now we have moved on to Midway Heritage Development, mm-hmm. which many of our investors will be familiar with. We have a lot of investors on that loan. Yeah. Currently, the principal outstanding that we have on that loan is a little over $21 million. Mm-hmm. So what are we doing with this $21 million? Give us an idea of what's happening, where you are today with mm-hmm. that project.
It's 143 townhomes and at least 12 commercial spaces. So it's a big mixed-use project, certainly a big one for Midway. Yeah. So we've jumped right in. We've finished phase 1. I think we'll be paving next week. And then we'll be starting those homes vertically in the next 30 days, probably 60 days. Okay. And we are also starting phase 2 groundbreaking this week. Okay. So we're moving along.
You are moving along.
Now, phase 1 and 2 comprise, I think it's 43 homes and all of the commercial space. So a lot of our big infrastructure work, the things we have to do on Main Street to make it accessible, that all happens now. And so it's kind of a heavy lift now. Yeah. Phases 3, 4, and 5 should be a little quicker and easier.
All right. What makes this project unique to Midway?
I think the architecture and the position, right? So we're close to the Provo River, mm-hmm. Which I think historically, why didn't they build the town on the Provo River? I don't know. I think they were worried about flooding or something. It's 30 feet above the water level, so there's not really a flooding problem. But just historically, they didn't do that. And so, if you were to start over with Midway, as beautiful as it is, I would have put the town center on the river. And so that's kind of what we're doing. We're shifting the town center to the river. What makes it unique is we've looked at density and said we can do this incredibly beautifully, and mm-hmm. that's what the town and the setting deserves. Our model really is the Cotswolds of England, the little villages there, where they have beautiful homes and beautiful walkways, flower gardens in front of their homes, and no cars. And so a big part of what makes this different and appealing is we're putting all the cars under the units. And that gives us a ton of space. We can have 4-car garages in most of our units. We don't expect people to have 4 cars, but we do expect them to park those cars. Yeah. So we're giving them extra space. So that way we don't have overnight parking on the streets. It's going to feel like a walking village. And that's the other piece that makes it unique, I think, not just in Midway, but around the country, to have a true walking village where you can get on your bike and ride to a award-winning gourmet restaurant, with your partner, and or ride your bike down to the river and fish. That's all very accessible, and we don't think it's been done well anywhere that we can see. So we think we're really pioneers in that regard. Maybe I'm getting a little too ahead of myself, but in order to create that walking village effect, having the underground garages, and then we go a long ways with our rooftop balconies. So outdoor living, it's something you see in warmer climates, California, Texas, Arizona, and I guess here in Nevada. You don't see it as much in Utah. The resorts are starting to do more of it because, with a hot tub and the right kind of heated floors, you can really enjoy the outdoors a lot more. And so we set these units up so you're sitting on the rooftops looking at the Wasatch Back, which is really a very scenic, maybe unique place to be. So,
is there anything else like this on Main Street?
No, there's nothing like this on Main Street. The other thing that we're doing is we want to hit that vibe with the rural charm. Something that looks like it might have been there 100 years ago. And so we're modeling this English countryside Cotswolds type home with a little bit of pan-European flair because Midway bills itself as a Swiss mountain village. So it'll fit with Midway and what it used to be. At the same time, having all the parking, 10-foot ceilings, great big view windows. We're able to do all of that with careful planning.
What are some of the challenges that you have faced with this project?
Wow. If you've ever done any development work in rural Utah, or particularly a town like Midway, a lot of resistance to growth. Nobody wants to see anything change. And that's kind of how we looked at it. That's actually how I got into development originally was how do we shape change so that it's beautiful and beneficial? So that's been really the biggest challenge, getting through the city and the process. And that took probably, has it been 4 years I've been working on this? What's interesting is initially I had a lot of protest and anger. And now the community seems to love it. We just did a soft launch last week. I should say we're 75% reserved out without any advertising of any kind. We did a little bit of a soft launch on social media, talking about our swim and racket club. And the response was unbelievable. I expected to have a lot of, the nasties come out. Unbelievable support for the architecture, the beauty, the function, the bikeability. People really liked it. So I've been on the phone a lot since then.
And you live in Midway, correct?
I live in Midway.
You live in Midway. Okay.
I'm a Midway partisan. I believe in walkability. And so both developments that I've done before in Midway are in town. They're not out on the benches or in the hillside. It's right in the middle of town. And I think Midway is uniquely investable that way. It's, beautiful. One of the few luxurious small towns that outside of a ski area that people will pay to get into. It's very aspirational.
Okay.
That's one of the things that we say is that we're building the Midway dream. When people move to Midway, it's not because it's convenient. It's not because it's great for work. You move there because you want to be by the ski areas and because you've always dreamed of living in a place that's that beautiful.
So how'd you end up in Midway? Give us a little history about yourself. Where are you originally from? Just tell us.
Sure.
How did you become a developer in Midway?
So my background is actually semiconductors. I was in the semiconductor business for about 20 years. I was a VP and GM of a public company out of New York. And but I did have family roots in Utah. And at one point, we just decided we wanted to move back to Utah. I moved with a startup company in the software space and ended up in Midway. And they're just like a lot of people that live in Midway. I just became obsessed with Midway. There are very few, and I've lived in some great places around the country. Los Gatos, California, out near the Hamptons in New York. And I saw in those communities, I saw in Midway what some of those communities have, which is great walkability. You can, and then the core is beautiful. You can have beautiful large homes a block from Main Street. People will invest. And I saw that potential in Midway. And so initially, I began kind of in the protester camp. I wrote code for the city to stop growth, and I handed it to them.
Full circle here.
I handed it to the councilman and said, "Hey, pass this." And then I just realized that you're not going to stop growth, and in fact, it's often counterproductive because it brings the people who can bulldoze through that are often bad actors.
Yeah.
And so I just had an epiphany. I thought, the only way to really make this happen is to become a developer myself
and control it
shape
control what you want it to look like,
shape it, make it beautiful. And so I've approached development really maybe from a different perspective than others, which is what is the most beautiful, ideal thing I can do, and then hopefully I can make good money on it.
Yeah.
And it's the city council has been a little surprised, and now I have fans and supporters in the city council. And what I tell them is, look, if you in a place like Midway, if you do something beautiful, it's going to sell fast. And that's what people want. If you do something average, maybe you think you're making more money, but it's going to take a lot longer to make that money.
Yeah, it's like having a public come in and take over a community, right?
Yeah.
You're not doing that. And you're kind of holding their hand through the process and reassuring them that you're not going to ruin their community. Right. And that's ultimately the goal of what you're trying to accomplish there. Working hand in hand with them now, from protester to supporter.
I get people will call me and thank me. They're not buyers. They'll just say, "Hey, thanks for doing what you're doing." Now, of course, there's the old lady down the street that won't look at me still.
Yeah. There's always going to be a few. There's going to be a few holdouts.
But it really is building the Midway dream. And we're seeing that in the responses that we're getting. People are willing to pay for it. They want to move in quickly and take advantage of everything that is there.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's get into the nitty gritty. I have Pat Vassar sitting here with me as well. Let's talk about what's to come. So we know where we're at currently with the loan, and maybe Pat will give a little, recap on that.
Yeah.
And let's talk about where we're headed with Midway Heritage. And in fact, we may be name changing here. Right.
Yes,
there may be some changes there. So let's get into the nitty gritty of the investment itself.
Absolutely, Dan. The name change that Carrie spoke of will come into play here on this next refinance that we should be doing right around the June, July, August, maybe September timeline in the coming months. Moving this into a even larger loan to start building some houses and finishing the development of additional phases. How do you have it broken down in your phases currently?
Roughly, so we would start. So phase 1 and 2 we're doing together. They've already been, fully. We already have master plan on everything, but you have to go through phase by phase with the city. So phase 1 and 2 are underway now. We expect them to be fully built out about a year and a half from now. That means 44 units that are move-in ready. We're doing this all kind of in parallel, so we can start the development and start the homes before the development's quite done. So we are planning for phase 3 probably next June to get started there, and we're going to start this fall, but we have a little. The state was going to put a street light in, and that's going to get in our way, we think. But it's not a big deal because we can start in June. We can start the houses in phase 3. So we'll be building out phase 2 homes, and then have the phase 3 homes being built before phase 2 is all the way done. So it'll be a nice smooth transition. And then phases 4 and 5, probably the year after that. So that's 2025.
So
summer.
Close out in 26, you think?
Well, I think by the time we get all the way through the homes built, we're looking at 2028.
28.
June.
Okay.
And that means every home is move-in ready.
Absolutely. Where we stand currently, what are the average square footages for these 100 plus units?
Currently, it's 2,400 is about the average.
Okay. And when you look at Midway as a whole, what's the average sales price of a single family detached residential out there?
Oh, I don't know what the average is, but I know, people come to me and say, "Hey, I want a home in Midway." You're looking at $2 million to get in the front door. And most of the homes are, the new ones that are aspirational on an acre, you're looking at $4 million to start. And Midway has become, I guess, very inaccessible in some ways. And so one of the things we think is great about our product is you get the luxury because what we're building, the architecture, the beauty at a much lower price, a third of what you would pay. but you still get the 4-car garage. You still get the luxury bedrooms and the views. And so we think it's a good solution for a lot of people who would otherwise buy, and it's just a lot of money, to be the move-in price.
Right. But on your product, you'll be able to get a brand new home, new construction for an average price point that is typically below market. Is that accurate?
Oh, well below market. I mean, it sounds expensive, I suppose, but well below market. And as we see the Mayflower ski area come into town and just the progress of the valley, it's actually, it's hard to say it's a bargain, but it feels a little bit like a bargain to be able to get in it for $1 million bucks ish. Our average will be around $1.2 million, we think, to be able to get into something with a 4-car garage where you can have all your bikes and your scooters, your fishing equipment, all that stuff's there. And you have a space for your cars. And then you have the outdoor living. What you don't have is you don't have to mow the lawn.
Absolutely. Perfect. And the total number of units build out between now and the end of 28, fully constructed, developed, and lived in. What type of velocity do you expect to sell at when you first start off here?
We're thinking it's about 44 per year. And so 10 at a time, 10 per quarter is a good way to think about that, 10-ish. Now, if you do the math, then we should be finished out a little sooner than 2028.
Right.
But we have a few stipulations from the city. For instance, they have milestones. One is the street light has to go in, so that's stalling us a little bit on phase 3. And then 50% of our commercial buildings have to be done for phase 4. That'll take us about 2 years, and we'll be ready for that. So hopefully we won't get stalled again. And then 80% of the commercial has to be done for phase 5. And so that's just Midway City saying, hey, we want a tax base to come along with all these residences. We can hit most of those milestones. The one that's out of our hands is the street light. And we think, because we're at the front end of the builds, that it's probably not a tragedy to have our build for phase 3 start in the summer of next year, given that we've got 44 homes to build between now and then.
And to kind of go back on a previous comment you had, you said there's going to be roughly 4-car garages on this. How's that even possible with 4-car garages on townhome product? Or how are you handling that?
Yeah, well, we think it's pretty innovative. We're going underground, and it's actually in rock. The whole town is sitting on a lot of pot rock, they call it. But we have the big machines that can handle it. And so we're going under the units and hiding the cars that way. So you actually drive around the back side of the unit. As you're driving around the back, you're dropping about 10 feet. And then you're driving alongside a shared lane and then into your garage. And so, typically townhomes, the parking is at ground level. And so the problem is you're walking in that front door and immediately upstairs. And so you have a very vertical treehouse experience. And it's a lot of wasted space, honestly, to have that little landing that no one's really going to use. And so we thought, how can we do that better? And if we park underground, you can have the full length of the unit, which is often 50 feet by maybe 26. It's a big area. So when we say 4-car garages, it's 2 double deep, but it's still a lot of space. And then what that does is your ground level now is all living. And so you have ground level, full unit living. We'll either put a master bedroom on the main if someone wants, or we have what we call parlor style, where the whole first floor is entertainment. And then the whole second floor can be family living. We often have enough room in these units to have maybe a secondary television area or entertainment area even upstairs. And then on top of that, we have the rooftop balconies. So anyway, I feel like we've found a great way to hide the cars, provide incredible value with the space. And by the way, it doesn't cost us much more because we were going to have to build a foundation anyway. And now, when you can walk out your front door or back door and be at ground level. And we think that's a real value, especially to our market, which, it's not super old. It's not a retirement community, but people are generally 50 plus, or maybe they're 40s and have 1 or 2 kids. And so they don't want to do a lot of climbing. And so it works out well.
Great. Well, this is absolutely one of our favorite projects, ones we've been involved with you for quite some time, and we'll obviously be involved with for a few more years, to say the least. So we're definitely excited about the the progress you've made with previous projects as well as the one we're doing right now.
There may be listeners out there that are interested in this product. How do they get a hold of you and or do some research about this project? You said you're not doing a whole lot of marketing, but you do have a website, I believe.
We've just rebranded. Patrick just mentioned that. So the new name is Southill. So we have a new website, southill.com.
Okay.
The only trick in that is there's just one H.
Okay.
And then you're there. Phone numbers, emails, people fill out forms to contact us as well.
Great.
So
they can either invest at Ignite Funding for as little as $10,000.
Yeah.
Or heck, I mean, if you got deep pockets, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Give you a shout.
Yeah.
You still have some availability. So
I hear from people all over the country. In fact, I've had calls from England saying, "Hey, this is unlike anything we've seen outside the UK."
Yeah.
So I think that really we do have kind of a unique design, a unique flair, but we're able to still have the luxurious, the big garages, the balconies, big rooms, and modern amenities. I think it's really a nice combination. When we finish the first unit, 143, you guys have seen that. My family's going to be like, "We're moving in."
It's going to happen.
I'd be like,
that's a good problem to have. That means you did something right.
Yeah.
When the wife and kids want to come along, you did something.
They'll want to move in, but unfortunately, they're all sold. The ones that we're building now.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, great. Well, sounds good. You can check this out. I mean, you definitely, it's hard without pictures to visualize this.
Yep.
So Southill, that's SOUTH1HILL.com, where you can see some of these renderings. It really is spectacular. So please, take some time to check it out and see there's some stuff still available where you can invest right here at Ignite Funding in this project.
Yep.
So thank you so much for visiting us today. We truly appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us this week on Deeds in the Desert, where short-term investments meet long-term investors. We hope you enjoyed the content so much that you share it with all your friends. Who doesn't like learning about passive fixed income, right? Still hungry for more education? Visit our website at ignitefunding.com. Or if you're ready to take the leap and start investing, give us a call at 702-761-0000 and schedule a free investor consultation.